when you're
Man,
living,
when you're living in the city.
Ooh. When you, that's a pretty good impersonation of it. I can mimic shit
Did somebody specifically tell you to talk to me about this album?
And funny thing, Jeremiah, is that you don't know that me and Colton was on the Comedy Jam TV show on Comedy Central.
Oh shit!
Now defunct. 8 people watched it. We know that.
It was always defunct, baby. It was always
all about defunct. Oh, Gary and Jonas at Comedy Central, you guys ruined it. Okay, baby, up on the backhand side. But this is what's funny about this, Colt, is that you sang Sister Christian, and yet you are here, which, you know, to be more shocked. I'm more shocked that you sang Sister Christian. You know what I mean? Probably the whitest song of all time. But is it the whitest song of all time?
It's pretty white. I mean, it's pretty white.
Paul Thomas Anderson also then just showed you that you can, you know, light off firecrackers with an Asian dude and playing Russian roulette while you're high on coke, which I think it takes away the whiteness of it and just makes it just this incredible song. So let's, before we even get into Tribe, why did you sing Sister Christian?
You know, the song had just it had become a karaoke song for me. You know, I heard it first in the movie, and then one night, you know, like at karaoke, you know, when you're like going deep and you got nothing else, and I saw it in the book once, and I was like, oh, I remember that song was hilarious. I got to do that, and I put it in and I rocked it out the gate, and then I was like, man, I love it. And I went, and that's when I actually think I got the song after that. And then you know, it just was always on heavy rotation.
It's a great song. It really is a great song.
It's so good, and it just gets everybody excited, you know, like it's just one of those songs that it's just got that energy.
So if I always like to say, and I know we're gonna get a Tribe, everybody. I know there's people like, get a Tribe. We will. Don't worry. But if
we're gonna get to it.
If I always like to say, if Journey is white, Earth, Wind, and Fire, what would be the black equivalent of Sister Christian? What is the song that you're like, this is black people's Sister Christian? Night Ranger.
I mean, it's probably like an R. Kelly song, you know.
Oh God! I believe I can. Funny enough,
something that just gets everybody in, like really like in it, feeling it.
Dude, we did a jam in Hollywood, and I had Bobby Lee, because Bobby doesn't really sing like that. He's like, just pick a song for me and sing it with me. And so I was like, let's do "I Believe I Can Fly" by R. Kelly. And as soon as it started, like the audience was like weird, but halfway in, once you got to the chorus, it was like, I mean, just everybody singing that chorus as loud as you can. Yeah, it's great. I mean,
it's a great song. Someone needs to just try to cover it or something. I don't know what happened, but we can't just let that song go away. It's so great.
It really is. It really is. Remove the art from the artist, and please remove. Could somebody have please removed the fruit punch and Snickers from Fife Dog's hands, and he might still be here with us. I literally just. Dude, I just watched the documentary again. And big shout out to Michael Rappaport, a buddy, and really, I think, took a band and really did a phenomenal job showing everybody about the history, about the arguments, everything that you had to do. And I remember I saw it in the theater when it came out at ArcLight in Hollywood. Me, Angelo Bowers, Gerard Carmichael, Willie Hunter, and when we got out, we said, I think the moral of the whole thing was that it's like they're just dealing with Fife Dog and his diabetes and food addiction, which basically it's crazy. Like, you know, and I don't know if that was supposed to be the main focus of it, but the thing is, as someone who got into A Tribe Called Quest so early on in my life, as one of my favorite, you know, not just hip hop groups of all time, because Colton, I've been voting on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame since 2021. And every year until we got him in, I was voting for A Tribe Called Quest, regardless if there were bigger names on there. We got him in last year. This year I got in fucking Soundgarden. It's just so funny is that the whole time you're watching all these videos and listening to all these albums, whether it's Midnight Marauders or you know, the Love Movement or whatever, it's like I had no idea that Fife Dog was literally dying the entire time, and really made the group very difficult, right? It's crazy.
Well, because you know, you'd think there would be even more. You know, it's such a bummer. I feel like there would have been more product made.
Do you think? No, but hold on, not to cut you off. That's a good starting point. I mean, I kind of look at their career as like they have no misses. Every one of their albums are good. I think I'm not going to sit there and say they keep getting better and better and better, but I think the first 3 to 4, you know, Midnight Marauders, I feel like is their highest point of creation. With this being like, you know, what some call the Sgt. Pepper of hip hop, which we just did Paul's Boutique, which they call that as well. And then the last 2 records, including the one that they put out after he died, I mean, they're all great records, but they do have, if you put those 5, 6 records just in or with 4, 6, 7, I think like it's almost, there's not one miss. Every song is good. When did you find him? Because like, I mean, I was probably fucking 13, 14. I think I got Midnight Marauders before I got anything, but Scenario is what got me into them. So when did you get into Tribe?
Definitely Scenario.
This was the first album I ever bought with my own money. I had worked over the summer and I had money going into the school year, and I went out to Rosedale Shopping Mall, and I was gonna wanted to get like shoes and some other stuff, but we ended up in the music store, and I was kind of walking around, and I just saw the front label art. And I was like, I hadn't heard their other stuff, and I was just like, I'll grab this, and that was it. I loved it. I like listened to it. It was like Scenario the video hadn't come out. Yeah, man, I loved this album. This was like the best album of my life. It was the first one.
This is I mean, like JT said, like Scenario is definitely, I think, what brought me into this. I remember being at camp, this little white boy fucking, you know, at summer camp that had listened to straight heavy metal for years. I was Guns N' Roses, I was Motley Crue, and then I had this turn where it was like Public Enemy, Tribe Called Quest. And I've said it before on the podcast, much like you know, where you're getting this with the first record you bought with your own money. Did you end up getting shoes?
I probably, I definitely got, like, most likely I got some British Knights, no doubt. I probably got some Reeboks or something, though. You know, I was
trying to bring back Reebok right now. There's like a whole documentary about Allen Iverson and Shaq trying to bring back the brand of Reebok. And the Reebok store shut down in Union Square. I was like, you're not doing a good job, because that was like prime location of sales, and that shit's gone. So,
oh wow,
yeah, BKs, RIP BKs, but
BKs are great too. Why don't they bring that back?
I mean, somebody's paying top dollar for that at a vintage store right now. Most likely me in a few months. I had a moment much like you, where it was like my parents were like, okay, so you get, because we were very middle class at this point in my life, and it was like, all right, you get one, we got you a boom box, we're gonna get you one CD to get with that. And I remember the choice was between A Tribe Called Quest, Midnight Marauders, and Us 3 Cantaloupe.
I had that too. I bought the single of that.
Oh yeah, which is what I did as well, because I got Midnight Marauders, thank God, because I mean these 3 records are probably, I mean, I know people are going to argue with me when I say this, and I bet you're going to agree, is this that I don't think there's many bands that have a 3 record run that is as changing, dude, because you always have to keep in mind what was going on in hip hop when the first record came out. I mean, were you an early hip hop fan?
It was out of the blue, man. And you know, I didn't I'll be honest, I didn't like when I first listened to the album. Scenario wasn't not my favorite song off that album.
Really?
To me that was like, whoa, I was there. Like all the other stuff is what got me. Check the Rhyme, like all that like real slow chill stuff, all the all the jazz, like because that was very different from everything else.
Yeah.
Scenario. I mean, I liked the song, I got it, but it was like, you back then too, it's like a lot of times you're just walking around. You're not like working out or doing stuff like that. So for me, it was like the song I'd listen to when I get on the bus. I like that chill stuff. I'm not gonna get all amped up on the bus, the Busta Rhymes. So yeah, I remember it coming out. It was just one of those. It just cut through everything else and was its own thing, but still, still this thing that was also like I felt like was my thing. Is a hip hop.
I feel like Busta just like was the gateway drug for me for a Scenario. I feel like that song was like, but then I settled, like I stayed for the jazz. Like they just were so in the pocket. The whole album is so consistently.
And I mean, it's great now. I mean, I'll get amped up listening to that song. So it's all built up. But when you first get it and you kind of just like listen through it, and it just kind of comes in at the end, and I was like, oh, okay, this just feels like their kind of jumpy song. We'll rewind a little bit, go back to some of these.
I mean, this and we're really burying the lead right now by going right to fucking Scenario, the final song on the record. Let's pump the brakes. There's a lot of music and shit to talk about before we get to Scenario.
But
I will say this: if there was ever a song to do that like knee dance, that like
right, exactly.
That there is something about that.
I remember as OPP came out same time, same thing.
Yeah. So wait, take me to September 24th, 1991, when this record comes out, which just so happens to be the exact day that Nirvana Nevermind comes out.
Isn't that wild, dude?
It is wild, and even crazier. And when Midnight Marauders came out, is the exact day that Enter the 36 Chambers by Wu-Tang came out.
Oh shit!
Which is one of the questions I want we're going to eventually ask, and I want you to think about now. Is that like not rappers, but who's the Mount Rushmore of hip hop collectives or groups?
Oh, that's not an unfair question to ask.
Well, that's why I'm going to give you time. That's why I'm going to give you time. I'm going to give you time on that. Because you have to, because it's like, dude, I'm telling you, it's like I fought with my writer Morty when I voted for A Tribe Called Quest. He goes, it's the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Did they do this? And you've got Warren Zevon and you got these guys that need to be in. And I'm like, I'm not voting on who I think deserves. I'm voting on who my favorite are. Yeah. And this record and this band is important to me. Dude, I'll give you a story. I'll give you a story before we get in 1991. I was lucky enough, and I said this on the Patreon, Colton and JT, you might remember it. This is back when I drank and I did blow. I was living in Baltimore, and they had this thing called Artscape, which was in the summer, and it was basically an art and music festival in downtown Baltimore around MICA, which is the Art Institute where David Byrne went. And on the main stage they had outside was just labeled Q-Tip, right? So me and my buddy Bindfest, we go there. We're all fucked up. We're having a great day of drinking. That's all you do in Baltimore is sex, drugs, and occasionally go to history of jazz class at Towson University and finish your senior thesis film project. And Q-Tip comes out and does a couple songs, does like, Vibrant Thing or whatever. And then he goes, yo, something don't feel right. Something don't feel right. I need my DJ. And next thing you know, Ali Shaheed Muhammad come out. And then he goes, it still don't feel right. It still don't feel right. He goes, I feel like I'm missing something. I'm missing something. Next thing you know, Phife Dawg comes out.
Wow.
And then they just do a full Tribe Called Quest set for an hour and 20 minutes. Not expecting it completely. I mean, I said this, it was like, it might have been one of the best concert experiences of my life. And I go to shows all the time, but to just think you're getting Q and then have the whole fucking group come out. I mean, this is 2005, 2006. So just, I mean, they're mature. They know how they've been performing for years. So their stage presence is amazing. Still to this day, I'd say top 5 concerts of my life. But yeah, I mean, we're talking about probably, you know, one of, if not the, you know, most influential in the game of sampling, of using jazz, using the music that came before it to really create something new. Both MCs totally different. Just insane that these guys knew each other since they were little kids. They went to church together, elementary school together, grew up in the same area. Yeah, it's just amazing. Who would be, if you're Q-Tip, who would be your Fife Dog?
If I was Q-Tip?
Yeah, if you're a Fife Dog and you have diabetes. I don't know if you got the sugar.
I'm probably more like Fife Dog. Damn. If I was Q-Tip, well, it's impossible. The guy's amazing. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess I've had friends who have passed away.
No. It's not about the death. Let's forget about the death. Forget about the death part.
Let's see. Who would be my Fife? Well, I don't know. I think I am the Fife Dog.
So you're Fife. So
I really do. Like, because you know, he's the one who's like, "Hey guys, let's party it out." You know, and then Q-Tip's the one who comes in and is like, "Hey guys, this is what it's all about." You know, I don't know. I don't really do that, so I don't know who my Q-Tip would be. I've had a couple Q-Tips, I guess. My buddy Phil Augusta Jackson, Jordan Peele would be a Q-Tip.
Yeah, there you
go. Let's see. Oh, you know what? I'd say this. My Fife Dog could be Ben Schwartz.
Really?
Sure, I'll be Q-Tip to Ben Schwartz.
Is it just because you guys just he gets the party going?
Yeah, we perform together a lot, and a lot of times he's like the bit, hey everybody, and I'm just kind of this guy who's like coming back like, what the hell's that guy doing?
I love it. So where were you when this record came out? I saw you grew up in Illinois, and then eventually moved to New York, which
I actually grew up in St. Paul,
Minnesota. So yes, okay. That I was wondering why you were wearing that because I saw in your bio it said Illinois, but
I was born in Normal, Illinois.
Okay,
where they build Rivians now. But we moved when I was 2 or 3 when I up to St. Paul. Probably maybe 4 or 5, I guess. But yeah, so I was in St. Paul, 1991. I just started high school. So I was a freshman in high school, St. Paul Central High School. And, you know, I was like shoplifting Super Soakers and,
yeah, dude.
Well, you know, kind of still very much into like Michael Jordan. But, you know, I think I probably had like seven different Michael Jordan t-shirts. So I could wear one every day of the week if I wanted to. Really liked loved basketball, but also loved Super Soakers and Ninja Turtles. I remember I was into the Ninja Turtles probably a little bit too long, still had like action figures. This is just before I started getting into like, and we'll talk about, you know, Wu-Tang, is that then it brought me into kind of watching like you know, those, you know, old Golden Harvest, you know, martial arts films.
Yeah.
That got me, that's what kind of got me into movie, like thinking about movies in a different way and like, oh, cool. How do you make movies? And what's that all about? But yeah, that's where I was, 1991, shoplifting Super Soakers. Loving Michael Jordan and
get a Super Soaker out,
fucking watching Ninja Turtles cartoons.
you would just take one of your Ninja Turtle action figures and just throw it over there like somebody's throwing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They all look over there and you just stick like 2 fucking Super Soakers down your pants.
Super Soaker.
Well, we had like a whole thing. You know, it's like, you know, when you're young and you get like, you just come up with like the dumbest plan, right? And so it was my friends and I all just wanted to like build the coolest arsenal of super soakers. And one person is like, dude, I just took one. And in Minnesota, you would wear these really big jackets. And so we would cut the lining of our jacket, and then we'd like walk in. This is not advice, kids, but we'd like go into the toy store and walk around and like just grab, you know, little ones. And then it was kind of like whoever could get like the big one is like, that would be so cool. Yeah, man. So
you went,
my apologies to Children's Palace, which is no longer in business.
They're doing that. They did go under, but they did go under. But
couldn't catch a super sucker.
So did KB Toy. So did Toys R Us. They all went under, and that it's not because of you. That's Jeff Bezos. We know that. He ruined everything.
That guy's got the biggest inlining of a jacket cut out.
Yeah, I didn't realize. I didn't realize. Yeah, dude, I didn't realize you went trench coat mafia to get out fucking to get that out. So wait, so all right, so then biting off.
But I bought this album.
Good, as you should. This is a buying record. So you know, I think you mentioned Wu-Tang. So Wu-Tang, this didn't change you as much as Wu-Tang Enter the 36 changed you. Which, by the way, Colton,
this probably affected me more than that one. That one just introduced me to
Kung Fu
and those films. Really, I mean, I love the Wu-Tang, but I never felt like I'm one of Wu-Tang. Like that, you know, like I said, Scenario was a little bit too much for me. Right. So Wu-Tang, I enjoyed it. I was like in, and I loved watching it, but I was never like, what's my Wu-Tang name gonna be? I was always still more like, hey, I listen to that stand-up bass.
I always identified with Old Dirty Bastard for some reason, and
really?
You are Shimmy Shimmy Ya at the comedy store.
I have a show at the comedy store called Shimmy Shimmy Ya. I was very lucky. I really, you know, we were talking about, I forget who was the guest that was like, I was calling Forrest Gump, or it was David Wayne, the guy from Wet Hot American Summer, who came on a few episodes ago. But it's like, I got Gump life too. And it's like, even thinking about it as we were talking, I completely forgot is that like, one, I'm one of the few people that got to see Old Dirty Bastard live, just Old Dirty Bastard in the Brooklyn Zoo at the 930 Club. Jared, were you there for that?
No.
Were you there? You weren't. No, it was like Paul's
him.
Old Dirty Bastard in the Brooklyn Zoo at the 930 Club, which is arguably the greatest rock venue in the world. It's Rolling Stone has voted it as such. We sold it out June 27th, 2022. I look at my talent pass of that every day because it's the club that I went to the most. And he showed up about an hour or so late, and then got on stage, opened up a bottle of vodka, chugged the whole bottle, and then went right into Brooklyn Zoo. And it was the great. And then fights broke out everywhere. I was all the way in the back. And by the time they were halfway into the set, there were so many people that had been removed from the fighting that I was all the way up front. Now, another Forrest Gump moment. Jer, I don't remember this, but my senior year of college, while I was at Towson, shortly after so basically the fall after the summer that I saw Tribe Called Quest, I worked on a movie with Nicole Kidman and Daniel Craig called The Invasion. It was Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Didn't really do much, but his part was cut out. But Q-Tip, and I'll find the picture on my phone and post it. It might be on my social somewhere too, Jerry.
Yeah, definitely post that this week.
But Q-Tip was in the movie, and I'm one of the PAs, and I get in line with him, and we're in the chow line, and I start talking to him, and I'm just like, I'm a fan, and blah, 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 and I saw you there, and I did this and that, and he's just the coolest guy, and I sat down and got to eat with him. But the moment I remember more than anything was as he was like, the woman that was like kind of giving us the food was being very like small portions, and he goes, "Hey, yo, ladies, stop being stingy with the mashed potatoes." I was like, that is the coolest shit ever. So yeah, it's like somehow in some way, it's like, you know, whether it's this record or Midnight Marauders, is this Tribe has always kind of been in there in my life and still continuously. Like when this record came up on the podcast and I saw it coming up, it's like, oh, I don't even know you need to really listen to this again. I know this record so well. And then listening to it was just really just putting you, it took me so back to all those moments.
It's so great.
Yeah, I mean, and I think to talk about this record, Colton, we have to talk about the record before. We already talked about how they all grew up together, but you have them coming out with their first record, their debut, People's Instinctive Travels in the Path of Rhythm. And I think that came out, let me just double check this math. That came out in 1990s. This is only a year later. And this couldn't be a more diverse record. You also, like I was saying earlier, is like have to think about what was going on in hip hop. I mean, in the documentary, Moni Love says it perfectly. It's like, it doesn't all have to be fuck the police. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It can be listening to music with a positive message. And I mean, like I mean, and maybe I'm really just, it's not on the top of my mind. Like what other hip hop acts at that time are being so socially conscious other than Public Enemy, but they're more of like a militia. They're more like, we need to take this shit back. We're getting fucked and we need to do this. Like it takes a million or a movement, whatever. But what do you think?
De La Soul was out. You had De La Soul then. You know, like kind of just doing basically, and it's not even like they weren't like militant or anything, but I don't really see like that album being like that, really. I mean, it was just that it was different than what was going on at the time, because it was just a more like, hey guys, remember we also just like to enjoy making music too, right? Like that's kind of how it always felt. Like it's just people really trying to enjoy it. They'll infuse some stuff into it, but it wasn't about presenting you know, I think there's just sort of like different tones that hip hop hits really well, and different emotions, and sort of anger and adversity. They play well, but I feel like there's very little of that in these first two albums. You know, they're still expressing some social commentary in all of this stuff, but they're doing it in a way that is, it plays more of the sort of like love and the joy of creating music.
Yeah.
And how even if this thing's messed up, but they take this and they're gonna make this beautiful jam to it that by the end of it, it's gonna take all the stuff that's rough right now, and it feels a little bit lighter. You walk away from stuff having your problems feel manageable, as opposed to like you have to confront them immediately.
Yeah. So the first record did not sell well, and even though
I didn't hear it until after I heard this one.
Well, but I mean, you've got, Left My Wallet and El Segundo, which, is Q-Tip bit off of, from Sanford and Son. He was talking about El Segundo in that. Bonita Applebum is a song that the ladies fell in love with Q-Tip because, not just his vocal style, but his charisma. And he's also the guy that basically, coined the term for, a girl with a fat ass. And so they said when they're going into this record, by this point, like you said, they're dealing with the Jungle Brothers, they're dealing with De La Soul, they're dealing with Moni Love, they're dealing with Queen Latifah, Beatnuts, all these groups, whether they're from Queens, which is where I think I fucked up and said they were from Brooklyn, but tribes from Queens, New York, but everybody is just a collective native tongues. And they realize that they're like, we have this thing. We don't have to be this gangster style. We can be these, I don't want to like, what would you call that? I mean, because it's like the exact opposite. And I don't want to give it the wrong name. It's like,
I mean, just call it hip hop, I guess, it's just, but, I mean, it's,
do you remember, wait, hold on.
Native tongues, all that.
Colton, do you remember there was a comedy show with Baron Vaughn and it was Baron Vaughn and Open Mike Eagle, and it was called The New Negroes, and it was like a show basically of like, so this is what
was in that.
yeah. And I think I don't want to say that that's what they're doing, but it's like you don't just have to be one way. It's like we're all like you're getting one. The news and the media and sports, whether it's boxing or fucking basketball or baseball, is just you're getting fed one direction. And you have these guys coming out, guys and girls coming out and being like, no, we don't have to be like that. We're like this, and we're doing our own thing. And there's love in it, like you said, and there's friendship and there's respect, but we're also going to call out the business is fucking with us. The world is fucking with us, all this shit. I think, that's why I keep saying is like, they're so ahead of their time, with that first record to then go into this. You're seeing that now even more, like the sampling got better. His use. I mean, I got to give the shout out to this. The bass lines on this record are some of the best bass lines. Just starting with the first tracks. Let's start digging into this record. So this record, to say it's Low End Theory debuted at number 45 in the Billboard 200. It was doubted by music critics on the commercial potential, but the executives at Jive did believe in this. It ends up being certified gold, achieved platinum status in 95, peaked at number 45, like I said, but number 13 on the R&B hip hop record charts. When Tribe is inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2024, Dave Chappelle gave the speech and explained the Low End Theory album title, which I think is so cool. I never even thought about it this way. The album title had one of the illest double entendres ever. The low end refers to the bass, which I just mentioned, and the drums, but it also refers to a black man's status in America. Do you agree with that? Or what are your thoughts when you hear someone like Chappelle say that?
Do I agree? What do you
agree? Oh, I don't know. Do you agree? Or when I read that Chappelle saying that about the title, it's like, one, did you realize that, or when you first saw it, or did you? Or is it just like?
I'd heard that before. I didn't when I got it. I didn't pick up on that. I was a kid.
You're 11, yeah.
I was like, what is this theory?
Yeah.
But of course, both the definitions of it work, so I can't really disagree.
What is that like being a black kid in the 90s in St. Paul, Minnesota? Is it, it's like Minnesota is the only black guy I know from Minnesota right now is fucking Prince, and I've been to his house 3 times. Kirby Puckett.
I think it was probably the same anywhere in the Midwest. Not that much different. There were a lot more white people than brown people there, but there was plenty of black people. Especially in St. Paul and in Minneapolis. So when you're there, it doesn't feel like there's much of a difference until you go other places, mm-hmm. and you see stronger, out to the coasts and stuff like that. But I've, Minnesota kind of gets the label, but I traveled all around the Midwest. It was all pretty white. I mean,
sure. Oh yeah, yeah.
Say that about you can say that about a lot of the.
It should be called the Midwest. It should be called the Mid-White. Yeah. Oh, you mean the Mid-White? I mean Midwest. Mid-White, Midwest.
So, but we had, obviously Prince, Kirby Puckett.
I was going to say Kirby.
Would say when they would say, "Oh, the you and Prince and Kirby Puckett." Go ahead.
So a month after the release of the debut is when Phife Dawg learned that he was diabetic and considered leaving the group. After a discussion with Q-Tip, they agreed to increase his participation on the second record and to step it up in general as a group. Yeah, I saw that in the documentary that he really captured it, which was when, they all would do different things. Like Phife Dawg would watch sports and hang out with his family, but Q-Tip would live at the record stores. Like he really saw the turntable as his instrument. And really by the time that they're doing this record, his record collection is so extensive. It's like he just is a genius at hearing something and pulling out that one little thing, whether it's the high note from Loving You, where it's just like boom, and keeping that on top of that guitar thing. It's like there's so many great things. But he literally says to Phife Dawg, he's like, even if you're not on the song, like come into the studio. I want you to help me like really build this record. And I feel like you know, there's a reason why this is the record that's on the list where the other, you know, 5 aren't. I mean, this is probably, you know, like it's so funny, dude. We just did Paul's Boutique, and the whole thing was that it's the hip hop Sgt. Pepper. I think there is just as strong an argument to have with this record. I mean, and it starts right from the first song, Excursions, which I think is the best song to open the record. And I think the reason I love it so much is how long it goes before the drums drop in, with just Q-Tip fucking rhyming, you know, back in the day when I was a teenager, before I had status and before I had a pager. I mean, it's such a great song. He put a reverse 808 drum machine behind it before the beat actually kicks in. I mean, it's really just this incredible Last Poet sample. I wanted to ask you, talking about Excursions, I want to talk about you moving to New York City and working for Conan. What was that like? Was that your first job?
Well, I mean, and you know, I it was my first job on TV. Yeah, that was the first time I was on TV. And it was, you know, I did, you know, so basically Conan O'Brien used to have those little skits and stuff. I never worked on there as like a writer or anything. You know, I just did these like skits where they would pull usually actors from the UCB theater, the comedy scene in New York at the time. And they brought me in, and I got called by Andy Blitz, who was a writer there. And he was like, "Hey, I wrote this sketch. Do you know how to sing and dance?" And I was like, "Yeah, I can sing and dance, sure." And so I went in and auditioned for the casting person there, and they're like, "Yeah, can you sing and dance?" And I kind of, you know, like some singing and dancing of, you know, some popular song or something. And she's like, "It'll work, okay." And what the bit was is that Conan was putting together a boy band. So it was kind of that making the band time. And so I was a member of this boy band. Now, all the other guys who they had were like actual, like Broadway singers and dancing guys, like guys who did that. And I was not. So it was very, very, very fun, and watching them all pick up the choreography really quickly and me not be able to do it. But that was part of that was maybe a year, maybe 2 years after I had been in New York. I think at the time I'd have to look.
Was it a scary move?
The real excursion would have been that time getting out to New York, and then when I had this now CD that I had gotten with in heavy rotation with like The Roots and Diggable Planets, and I had like built, this album kind of birthed a whole catalog of music that was my excursion music out to.
That's what you were listening to the whole time you moved out there? Yeah.
Moving out there.
And what a great city for listening to music. I mean, living out here in New York for the last 4 years, I just think everything hits a little bit differently walking around Manhattan, or whether it's Brooklyn.
And these songs were about New York. Like, they're talking about places, that I had listened to, and fantasized about since I was a freshman in high school. And now I can go to these neighborhoods and, see these places and these clubs that they're talking about.
Did you know you wanted to do comedy, like when you first get this record? Like, you knew it from an early age, and it was just
well, when I got the record, no. When I got the record, I was going to be a basketball player. That was my plan. And so that's really what I was focused on. I had already done some acting, and I liked that. I saw that more as like a very unlikely thing to do. And it really wasn't until I saw you had him on recently, Nick Swartzen, where we were both in high school at the same time. And in high school, we started doing this thing called Comedy Sports, which is like an improv comedy thing. And that was when I was like, oh no, this is what I want to do. And I quit my basketball team, and I did this comedy sports thing. It was probably when I was might have been sophomores or juniors, somewhere there, right in the middle. And yeah, he got me into the Beastie Boys.
I love that. So cool. you and Swarty are old school homies.
We're old friends. Oh yeah. We started doing comedy together, went through high school together. After high school, he moved out here. He went to New York for a little bit and then moved out to Los Angeles, and I moved out to New York. And he did, he got the Barks Root Beer thing and kind of, Reno 911, and just sort of blew up.
He's one of the funniest people I know, and
dude, he's the funniest guy. He's always been. He's as funny now. Like he's the same guy. Like he was always that funny.
And even when he like, if he burps, he's just like fart. He says a word.
It doesn't matter. He's one of those kind of guys who like sometimes he'll like say something serious to me.
Yeah.
But I won't realize. I'll be like, oh, you got me again. And he's like, no, I'm actually
I'm dying. I had pancreatitis. All right,
okay,
Jesus, my bad.
Okay.
Okay, you're being serious. I love that. I didn't realize that connection, but it actually makes perfect sense. Both you guys around the same area. Any thoughts on Excursions you want to add to the opening track that we didn't go over? Or your thoughts? I mean, it's such a great song, great opener.
No better song. Sparks off right away. I guess I would say Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon. Like that, like the beginning of that album and this beginning for me had the same effect of like, I honestly, when this starts, I was like, I felt like I was going into a different world.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, it kind of this whole from this album, this whole sort of, I think the way I think about comedy, the way I perform, the way, like everything, kind of comes this album in the especially Excursions, just the way it started out, had I had not dropped a needle. I pressed play on a tape, but it was like that kind of like everything else blurred out.
It's I don't know if it's the same song, if that drums kick in that soon, you know what I mean? If it's like to let his lyrics breathe and let that bass line breathe at the beginning, really just draws you in even more, and you're almost like, when is it gonna kick? And then when it kicks, it's just like, Jesus Christ, it's so good. And then to go right from that into Bugging Out, which I know I said Excursions got the bass line, but I mean Bugging Out, probably one of the best bass lines on the record and best opening verse. It's in my opinion, I think you've got both of them trying to outdo one another, whether it's, microphone check 1 2, what is this? The 5 foot assassination with the roughneck business. Yeah, but also
I never had a cavity.
Yeah, that's not true. That motherfucker loves sugar, so he's got a cavity. I think my favorite verse is the Q-Tip verse where he's like, I'm not an envelope, and though I used to smoke the weed out, I used to heat Muhammad, used to say I had to be. I love, it's like they're both trying to one up. Phife Dawg said this is one of his favorite songs to perform as well. When the album was fresh and new, we were on tour with it on the Public Enemy tour. Matter of fact, that bass line used to come in crazy. So Bugging Out is definitely on that list. We used to start the show with either that or Steve Biko. And we used to win. I don't see, like, there's so many songs that they could open the record with. I think the music video for this is actually really cool too, directed by Hype Williams, where Phife Dawg's got the big eyes.
Williams. Yep.
Talk about a director that had so much. Even his name says Hype, and then to not do shit after he had such a run, and then Belly killed his career.
It really did. It was.
It's not a bad movie.
He's had a great career. But it was definitely did not perform as expected. Oh yeah, there it is.
Yeah, I just love the idea of putting those eyes on. Cool. They look so young. I want to talk about. I want to talk about bugging out. What is a project that you worked on that had you bugging out, whether it was from stress or the other way, which is like, I can't believe I'm working with these people.
Oh man, bugging out. Trying to think. I mean, you know, obviously, I would say that I didn't really bug out at Key and Peele, but at Mad TV, I was bugging out because that was crazy when I first got the job there as a writer and going through that first experience of being a writer on television and especially sketch, where, you know, you'd write sketches and, you know, yeah, you'd make an alien and it would look like that video, right? You'd be like, oh, we're just going to cut some bottle tops and put them on our eyes. And that's the alien in your sketch. You're really bare bonesing it. But then, you know, I remember I wrote a sketch. This will be kind of prominent now. But I wrote a sketch called the LAPD Pinatas for Mad TV. And it was a commercial for a store. I should bring it out too, because Ike's really big now and he'd love it if I re-release this. I'm pretty sure it's on YouTube, and it's Ike Barinholtz, and he's playing an LAPD police officer, and he's like, hey, you know, come on down to LAPD Pinatas. We've got all kinds of different pinatas. We've got the suspect, and it's just like it's a black guy running.
Yeah.
And then it's like, we've got, you know, we've got a Mexican, and it's just a guy in a sombrero with his hands up. And then we've got more Mexicans, and it was just like more littler things like that. But it was all these pinatas of people that, you know, sometimes are the police over enforce on. And so making them pinatas was the joke of this sketch. Whatever. I write this crazy sketch. It's two pages long. It's just a list of, you know, fucked up things that the pinatas can be. And that's about it, you know. And in, you know, who knows if I was going to do that in real life, what, you know, how crappy it would look. But then one day some guy comes to my office and goes, hey, are you, you Colton, did you write the LAPD Pinatas sketch? And I'm like, oh yeah. And he's like, can you come down and clear the pinatas? And I'm like, what? And he's like, I need you to come down and just make sure that these pinatas look the way that you want them to look. And so I'm like, okay. And like, I walk down and just walk through this line. And he's like, we had to make 2 of each one, you know, because we're going to be breaking them. And that's probably a moment in my career where I bugged out. And I was just like, I can't believe I wrote this down on a piece of paper. You know, the runner, a black guy, the Mexican, it's a guy with a sombrero, his arms hold in the air. Wrote that down. It's just like complete jokes of what these pinatas could be. And now I'm seeing it existing. And somebody had made the actual pinatas, multiples of them, and then it was going to be produced and put on television. That's probably a moment in this business where I bugged out in being like, holy shit, my imagination just became reality. There it is. You found it.
Oh, it's me, Pete, from Pete's Party Supplies Incorporated. Does your kids have birthdays? Do you know people whose kids have birthdays? If you answered yes to either questions, then you should know nothing brings birthday fun like a piñata. Piñatas, the LAPD piñatas. They come in all kinds. The runner, the wise ass, the resisting arrest, the hippie college boy who gets smart with you, the guilty Mexican.
The guilty Mexican. Regular Mexican.
Order today, and you'll get
That's
a
great.
fitted LAPD
That's great.
uniform.
All right.
Oh yeah, you get a uniform for the cop.
Oh yeah, it's great.
But it ends with a bunch of kids in cop uniforms beating up people.
Guns falling out. Yeah, it's brilliant. That's great. I love it. All right, let's move on to, because I like the next one, rap promoter, and this one's a pointed jab at the monetization of rap music in the music industry. Q-Tip and Phife Dawg both warned that this is a warning to up and coming rappers about venue promoters and the shady tactics of scamming money out of them. Q-Tip injects Peter, Paul, and Mary's leaving on a jet plane with Sugar Hill Gang's Eighth Wonder. I mean, this is basically the same. This is kind of like the similar track to Show Business.
Yeah.
They're very, very similar. This is about their learning experiences. Thoughts on Rap Promoter? Or What do you
Yeah,
want
I
to
mean,
add?
it's it's another good groove. It's another them telling us about what it's like in the business, and in a lot of ways, it's again in like sort of from an emotional level, it's an anger. They're angry about the rap promoter,
Yeah.
but they're still like bringing this this energy and fun to it. I think these kind of songs, it's like the studio, right? Where it's like you feel like you're behind the curtain. And that's what I feel like, they do well in this and that. I feel like a lot of people did after these, where they like would do, oh, I'm going to do a song about the industry, and really show them what's up. But, and everybody, a lot of musicians have done that. But these are almost like anthems for that, like anytime you have any documentary about an artist being taken advantage of, rap promoter, show business, the lyric from Check the Rhyme, industry rule 4080, record company people are shady. You're gonna hear those. You're gonna hear these songs. They're sort of like these anthems of people being taken advantage of by the establishment.
Yeah. When have you been taken advantage of by the establishment? You gotta
all the time, every day, man.
I know.
Do you pay taxes?
Specifically the industry. Have you gotten? Has there been I'll say it, when we did the Comedy Jam, the Comedy Central basically took my idea, let me shoot it the way that we did, and then basically cut me out of it. And I'm the show. I'm the reason it was successful. Now, look, I got paid, and it changed my life, and I got the dog and the Dyson, and I haven't had to work a fucking job since 2016. But that's really like one of those things where it's like, was there something that you wish you would have stood your ground for, or that you kind of got screwed on?
I mean, not yet.
Good for you, dude.
I don't think so. There hasn't been. I'm trying to think. I mean, obviously when I'm, you're younger, you're doing, but it's one of those things that, like, it's like Funny or Die. Way back in the day, you're doing like Funny or Die sketches that, at the time were these, ad campaigns. It would be like for big companies and stuff, and you'd go in and you do it, and they're paying you, whatever,
peanuts,
$125 for the day or something, ridiculous thing back in the day. But that was at the beginning of like internet videos, so nobody really knew what the monetization would even be. I mean, here you go. When I got hired at Mad TV, I was hired as what was called a diversity hire. So, which meant for the first half of while I worked there, the network, which was Fox, who had the diversity hire program, would pay part of my salary, and the show would pay another part. And I don't know if the agreement was from, and then I think what the union did to make it advantageous is that I did not get paid as much as everybody else for the first half of my contract at Mad TV. So it was sort of one of those, it was like a program that the incentive was that they could pay me less to do the same amount of work. Or so it was like one of those, that's great. I'm glad I got that job. And, they probably would have hired me if the diversity hire thing wasn't there, but because it was there, that's how they were able to use it. That was a complete, rap promoter show business.
I think you brought up Funny or Die. That's so funny. I haven't thought about Funny or Die in so long, but I remember how important that was as a young comic in 08, 09, 10 or whatever. Even up to like 30. It was like, if you got a good sketch on or something on Funny or Die, I mean, it could be life-changing.
Yeah, 100%, and it's like, you weren't getting paid, but you know what? Look, I used to do, I did stand up in back in the day in New York, and you'd have to stand outside and flyer for the show to get people to go in and get a certain number of people to go in, or you had to pay, and I remember at the time being like, all right, whatever, this is part of the hustle. So, there's Yeah, that's it. It always exists. There's always somebody above you that's cutting the cake first. So,
yep.
In 5 years, I don't know, they'll be talking about some other thing that right now we all think of as sort of ingrained in it, and we'll be like, oh wow, I can't believe people agreed to do that.
I know, but it looks like it feels like there's payment plans for young creators. YouTube seems to be pretty fair as long as you don't cuss or say anything. I've seen videos with like millions of views, but then he says the F word in it, and so they demonetize it. And it's like, dude, just fucking, if you're getting the views, give us the money. You know what I mean? We're submitting all this shit. Also, if we're submitting shit to your fucking to your apps, like, let people see it. You know what I mean? Christ. It's like I'm spending so much fucking money on these goddamn stand-up clips, and it's like, get more than 6,000 people. It's a good video. Instagram.
And they change it, like it'll just change. They'll be like, that was wild with like YouTube and all those things. They're like, oh, this is how we monetize it. And then they'll be like, we changed it. And I remember back when like there's all these people on YouTube, and it was like their lives were ruined, for months until they could figure out what the new rules were. So it's still out there, even in the creator economy. There's still somebody cutting the pie before it gets to them. No matter what, any platform you're on.
Oh, I would say to nice segue, spreading the butter, which is the next song. Man. Love the sax, love the chorus. I think this is a Phife Dawg semi-autobiographical lyrical showcase that addresses girl problems. He contrasts his personal experience with the girls in high school. I mean, when you're 5 foot, dude, it's tough. It is tough. I'm 5'8", and it is tough. And I've got 8 inches on Phife Dawg, and I can eat sugar. At the root of Phife,
funny, and you're funny, and you got lots to say. He did really well.
Yeah.
Like, and that the little ladies fell in love with that little guy because he was, just this hilarious, funny little dude.
Yeah, and he insisted that this be his own solo track on the record due to the shortage of features of the group's debut. The original version did include a Q-Tip verse, but Phife Dawg did want this to be, and Q-Tip was on board. He said it's always been a Phife song, and he wanted it to be one of his songs. They argued, but he says no. But in the end, it's like Phife Dawg knew. Great song, great use of the sax and the sampling. I wanted to ask you, what is the you can pick or choose. What is the best or worst attempt at picking up a lady you've ever used? You can go either direction.
Man. Wow.
Don't worry, we're good. Not every song's going to be a question, but we got a couple good ones though.
No. Let's do it. I like it. I love them. I love this question. What's the best or worst attempt? I mean, the worst attempt has just got to be like, hey, what's up?
No, but it's so good. Can I use that?
Hey, how you doing? Just, when I wouldn't have a line or anything. I never really got into using lines, thank God, because I don't think, they're really things anymore. I don't even know how people pick up girls anymore.
I don't know either. Please tell me, because
that's why I was a performer, right? I mean, that's like the pickup. You do that on stage, and then
I got more pussy. I feel like we got more pussy from performing and just being ourselves and doing what we do than when you're like, even on the apps, you're like it's just so hard. I'll give you my worst. I'll give you my
the apps.
My best and my worst were the same thing, where I used to be a private party DJ, and I was doing a private school in North Potomac, which is the richest area. Actually, Potomac. It's Holy Cross, Jeremiah. You remember? That's like where the Congress kids go to. Like, it's millionaires.
Dikembe Mutombo lived there.
Who I waited on, him, Alonzo Mourning, and Patrick Ewing at That's Amore in Rockville.
Forrest Gump, dude.
I got Gump in me. I really do. And I have a Dikembe Mutombo jersey in my. Once he died, I went on that Chinese website. This is all from China. I was looking for a Gilbert Arenas jersey for years. This is a $30 Chinese. Them damn
Wow.
Chinese people, man. No wonder they're beating us and everything. They're giving away $30 authentic jerseys.
If I could order a starter jacket from these guys,
you can.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll send you the link. I'll link you. Which variation? You want the ones with the pocket in the front, or you want the ones that you put the beads on the sides? Like, well, I'll get you.
Oh yeah, pockets in front, Bulls starter jacket. That's
okay, all right. I got a link to that. I got a plug. You mean Wong Kwong from the Shaizu land of middle? I don't even know where the fuck my shit's coming from. The best and the
capitalists in the world.
I DJ'd this party for Holy Cross, and there was one of the most beautiful girls I'd ever seen in my life. This beautiful blonde, and like a week later, I was at the Outback Steakhouse where Greg Chait, our friend, used to work. I was underage. No, I think I was of age at that point. I was 21. She definitely was probably using a fake ID. Probably 19. I think it was like the summer after they graduated. And I remember I sit down, she's at the bar, and I start talking to her, but I used a fake Louisiana accent for some reason. And she was, dude, I had her in my hand, but I'm sitting here, I grew up on the bayou, and, and it's like, how long can I keep this going? I fucked up. If I just would have spoken my shitty Maryland accent, I would have been knee deep in puss. But I fucking, let me tell you, well, you went for a big swing. This is my best and my worst. You have one?
Oh geez, like that. I mean,
it doesn't have to be an accent.
I mean,
dominated.
Yeah, I never did an accent. I mean, as far as like, I mean, I think the best would have to be, because I was not 21 when I moved to New York. I was under 21, but I would still go out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, and I didn't I didn't lie to this person or anything, but that was probably the coolest woman I think that I had ever seduced when I was just an older woman when I was under 21. I was like 19 years old, and it was like a 27-year-old British lady, and I remember being like, oh man, I really wooed this lady, and I'm only 19. That was my coolest moment.
Hey man,
I felt like it.
Older British women, you can get that. You're doing pretty good, dude.
She was great.
Oh, hello. Oh, Colton. Okay. Let's talk about verses from the abstract. Great chorus. I love the girl's
Can't ever
voice
show
in
my
it.
wife this podcast now.
No, God, no. God, no. Don't worry.
This
Don't
is
worry.
the promo, right? Is this not the promo?
Yeah, she does subscribe to our Patreon, though, so just so you know. Verses from the abstract, great chorus. I love the girl's voice in it. I love the shout outs that they give of all the rappers. And I was also thinking about that, of all the shout outs. There's one thing about Tribe Called Quest that I really respect, and they do it the most on throughout this album, but also into Midnight Marauders with the album cover, is that they shout out the community. They love hip hop. And I mean, how would you feel like, Prince Paul, I think, was the one like in the documentary that's mad that he didn't make it on the album cover for Midnight Marauders. Like, if you didn't get that call, how much that must have like upset you to see every major hip hop, like, I'd say not every major hip hop, but I'd say like, every like in that world of hip hop, conscious hip hop, I think to not be involved in that album cover. But it's just such a great song. Thoughts on Verses from the Abstract? Anything you want to add?
Well, you were talking about the bass on this album, right?
Yeah,
this is live. This is a live bass. Give shouts to my man Ron Carter on
Ron
the
Carter.
bass. Thanks a lot, Ron Carter. He's on the bass. And that's what I loved about this song. I fucking just loved that. This was another one of those songs where I was like, this is just not what else is on the radio. This is like a different tempo to everything else. It was different than what I felt like the other kids at school were listening to. It made me feel like an individual.
Yeah. Talking about verses from the abstract, I want to bring up you worked for Key and Peele because it's like the abstract of what I think comedy was at that time. Like how did you get involved with Jordan, and like how did that come about?
I met Jordan in Amsterdam. We worked at a theater called Boom Chicago. And so it was like at the time it was an American style improv comedy theater in Amsterdam. Now it's just an improv comedy theater in Amsterdam. They have performers from all over the world who perform with them now. And so I went out there in 2001, and Jordan had already been out there for I think a year or two. And that's where we met. He left and got on Mad TV. And then after I stayed in Amsterdam for a little bit and went back to New York, and then I made my way out to Los Angeles. And I basically stayed on his couch and tried to get a job writing on Mad TV. So I would submit, and I didn't get in the first time that I submitted, but the second time is when I got hired. So that's the first time that we got to work together on television, which was on Mad TV, and that's where also Michael Chiardi was. Mm-hmm. That's where I met him, and then after Mad TV was done, and they were both done with Mad TV, a couple of years later, they were, they did the Key and Peele pilot, and they were looking that got picked up, and so they were going to staff that show, and I submitted a packet with everybody else, and they got hired with the first round of writers, and then did the rest of the seasons with them.
What was the sketch that you're probably most proud of working on Key and Peele?
Oh, damn! My favorite sketch on Key. It's tough because there's a lot of fun ones, but I think kind of back to sort of like an idea becoming a reality, especially like a silly idea, was just that I was a big fan of Liam Neeson movies. Mm-hmm. And I would get really excited about Liam Neeson. And then I was like, oh, it'd be funny just to write a sketch about two guys who are really stoked about Liam Neeson. And so I wrote this valet sketch where if you were to look it up, it would be Key and Peele valets. And it's them talking about how much they love Liam Neeson.
This is pre-Taken and that whole the sequel, etc.
This is Taken had come out. This is
this is after Taken. Okay.
Oh yeah,
it's not like he was a fan of him because of Schindler's List.
This is because of Taken for sure.
Okay, and makes more sense.
And it's just these two valets talking about Liam Neeson's, and I would call him Liam Neeson's with an S.
I remember this skit.
And so I had both of these guys, referred as Liam Neeson's. And that's one of my favorite sketches. They ended up doing a number of different ones where you're like, all right, how about they be excited about this? Like they love this.
I love and you were also in Amsterdam with wasn't it Seth Meyers was a big part of that? Well, who else was in that like group of people for that?
When I was out there, it was so Ike Barinholtz and Josh Meyers, the other Josh Meyers,
who I get tagged in so much, dude.
He also hosts this podcast, according to Apple.
Me and him ran into each other at Tail Waggers in Hollywood, and
that's right by his house.
My dog, yeah, and I was by my house too. And we just hugged. We were like, dude, it's like finally we're meeting one another. I know I'm not you. He's the reason Bobby Lee was the one that told me you can't be Josh Meyers. You have to change your name because there already is a Josh Meyers. Yeah. So big ups. Yeah. Big ups.
I think my first day was like their last day in Amsterdam. And so those guys were leaving, and when I was out there was Jordan, Brendan Hunt, who's Beard on Ted Lasso. That guy's, if you're ever looking for somebody to talk about a song, he's amazing. He would love it.
Music guy.
He's a music guy for sure. And oh yeah, he does a show called Elvis Prestello. If
check it out.
But the let's see who else. Becky Drysdale, Nicole Parker, Danny Shear,
Wow.
and Jim Woods, Heather Campbell, and Susie Barrett kind of came towards the end of my time out there. Amber Ruffin. So those are the people who are out there. But I was by the time I got there, Seth Meyers had already left, and he may have. I don't know if he was already the head writer at SNL or he may have just been writing there. I'm not quite sure. I think he may have started writing there and became head writer. I'm not quite sure how that happened. But
wow, what a fucking group of people though. That's insane. In Amsterdam, just getting cheap prostitutes and smoking weed at the Rotary. At the Rotary.
Mostly doing a lot of ecstasy. That's
yeah. It was the first place I did ecstasy was in Amsterdam. Yeah. Ecstasy, not MDMA. Ecstasy.
You know what I'm saying?
Way different. All right. Show business. This probably my lamest. I think this is the song I skip over the most. I don't like this chorus. The business. The business. It's not terrible, but it's just compared to the rest of this record. I mean, it's not my favorite. They say this is likely written in protest to Jive Records, their label censoring the track's original version. They had a very tumultuous relationship with them throughout their contract and blamed them for their split in '98. I wanted to. Anybody want to add before I ask the question? Because I just have a very quick question about this. But any thoughts about business?
I mean, I agree with you. It's it kind of it's the same. You know, they're upset with the industry.
Yeah.
It's a little bit inside baseball. I love the lyrics of this. You know, in it, and I feel like you know, it's fun to hear Lord Jamar and Sadat X. Yeah, I mean, it's not the most memorable one. It's not the one that makes it onto my playlists now for sure.
Yeah. So my question to you real quick is what's the best advice you give to someone thinking about getting into comedy?
Make friends, take classes.
Who told you that?
Who told me that?
Yeah.
Nobody really told me that. You know, I guess the only advice I would that's similar to that is just try to do as many shows as possible.
Yeah.
But that was more, you know, in the stand-up world when I first started, and I didn't really like it because it was so a little isolating of stand-up. So it was just wasn't what I enjoyed doing the most. And so when I got, you know, found I like doing like sketches and so finding some more improv and UCB theater and then taking classes and then kind of building like friendships and creating stuff with your friends, you know, is fulfilling along the way and fills the time while you're trying to make it.
Totally. Oh, no, everything you're saying is 100% right. It's like, just dive in. If you're going to do it, I always say just be as you as possible. And then
some people may not like, you know, may not want to work with a group or feel more comfortable in that. And then in that case, it's just like, do the shows, man. Just get out there, sign up, do some open mics, get up. You're still going to, you know, make your, you know, friends. You don't have to work with them all the time, but, you know, find that community, that stage, you know, that you fit in.
Yeah.
It's out there.
Not to skip over some stuff, but I mean, Vibes and stuff, you know, late is this one of your favorites? I mean, it's definitely,
no, I mean, this is another one of those. I'm you know, you could just imagine all these on me taking a bus from St. Paul to Minneapolis on, like, you know, a cold Minneapolis day, you know, taking the 94 bus and just kicking it in the back. I love all these.
What project gave you the best vibes?
The best vibes. Wow. I mean, Superstore is probably the one that was the best vibes. I mean, it was great. Everybody was great to work with. It just kept going. It was like the job that just kept going. Yeah, I just loved it. I loved going to work every day. hanging out with everybody was always fun.
What fun cast too, man. Like, yeah, just like
such a fun cast, such funny people. And all the guests, every time we had guests on, they were always super fun people. There was no bad apples. It was great.
Yeah, no. Goddamn, for some reason I can't think of that quarterback's name. Oh my God. He's a locker room cancer. Well, I'll say Christian Laettner is the basketball player. No, not Aaron Rodgers. He played for the Colts, and then he played for the Redskins back when they were the Redskins for a season or two. It starts with a J. Fuck. Oh, I always say it, and I can't think of it right now. But yeah, no.
He's a poison pill.
He was a poison pill. I'll find it by the end of it. All right. The infamous date rape. I mean, the fact that they have a song about that,
well, and also that it's like, you're like, oh, he's gonna maybe he's gonna be telling people on, how, consent should work, and like, be careful, don't do it this way. But it's actually a song being like, you don't want to be, you're going to be accused of date rape.
Yeah. My question is, have you ever date raped? No, I'm kidding. Moving on. Check the Rhime. I mean, quintessential, probably one of the most celebrated hip hop song for call and response rhyme cipher. Definitely Q and Pfeiffer at the top of their fucking, of their game, celebrating their middle class roots from Queens. With Fife, I think, winning a little bit in the, I would say, if you want to call it the battle, but it's just so cool. And then also, like, not saying this is the reason, but the music video was shot on Linden Boulevard and 192nd Street in Queens,
man.
Which in 2016 was renamed Malik Fife Dog Taylor Way in honor of Fife, who died at 45 for suffering from kidney problems. Great song. Love everything that Fife says in this. But I want to move on to the final tracks to get through these. Everything is fair. It'll always for me be remembered as one of the intro/outros on In Living Color. They did that, and I'll never forget it. You got Rosie Parks and that one white chick that used to dance with Janet Jackson that I thought was so cute. She was a choreographer. She did the just beating shit up while I did the that chick. She was in that dance thing. Oh, and so was Jennifer Lopez. I forgot. Yeah, J-Lo. But this song, but this song is a social commentary about crime and survival in New York City in the early 90s. And what's so funny is because it's like, despite everything between the East Coast and West Coast, it's like, where it's like in all of the West Coast rap, it's like they're talking about that all the time. Excuse me. This is one of the first few tracks where it's like Tribe is really going into it. Yeah. Very, not as bass heavy as the other songs too. By the way, we got to give a shout out who's just as important. I think the guy's name is Bob. Is it Bob Ward? Jeremiah? He was the engineer on this record, and I mean, is equally as important as Q-Tip because he was like in a very, very experimental phase. Where is his name? I want to make sure I don't fuck this up.
Are you talking about Skeff Anselm?
No, that's the producer. It's not him. It's the guy that was engineering it. God damn it. I just saw it on the
While you're looking that up, I do have what you were just referencing from In Living Color, this Jennifer Lopez moment here.
Oh yeah.
Please welcome job recording artist
But this isn't. No, this is what I was referencing. This is not. They performed on it. No, I'm talking about.
You're talking about the actual music they used on the show.
Everything is bad when you're living in the city, and then they would do those dances in between. So not that. Yeah. I'm not. That's yes, they performed on it.
This
I'm talking about
is their performance on there. But you just mean like the Fly Girls would actually.
Yes.
Yes. They kind of put on music, sort of like what the kind of Dave Chappelle tried to do on his show.
Yes.
They would put bands music on and play it.
There it is.
Music.
Here I found it. The guy's name is Bob Power. He was the engineer, and he was the guy that he basically was the one that really like cleaned up a lot of the samples, got rid of the surface noise or crackles and pops, but also like he was very, very like I said from watching the documentary, super like in an experimental phase. So really, really just as important as anybody else that's on this record. I got to give him a shout out. So everything is fair. Have you ever been mugged? You ever been robbed?
No.
Good for you.
I had a guy try once. And I was drunk. And so he kind of came up with with like the hand in the jacket kind of thing. Give me your money. And, it was either just, maybe I definitely read this guy so well, or probably just being drunk and stupid. I just bull rushed him. I was like, fuck you, you motherfucker. Like ran at him and he ran away.
Nice.
But that was the only time that somebody tried to mug me.
Nice.
I was too drunk to be intimidated by
them. Good for you, dude. Yeah. Well, how big are you? What are you like? Are you 6 foot at least? How big are you?
Oh yeah. No, I mean, I'm 6 feet tall, between 200 and 240, on different days. I don't look like somebody that you'd want to mug if I was just kind of walking down the street.
Oh yeah, I was about to say. I was like, well, that's all you got to do.
There's probably other targets out there.
Sure. All right. I want to get, because we're getting close to the hour and a half. I don't want to skip over like Jazz, Sky, Pager, and what, but because I think they're all equally important.
Did you have a pager?
I did. I got my pager from there's a little shopping center. And I had one for a few weeks, and then I didn't realize you have to pay monthly. And so I had to return it. But yeah, when did you get your first pager? Yeah, I got shut off, or I think I sold it. I returned it or something.
Man, I was so excited. That was, it's probably like in, maybe when I was like a junior, I think I got a pager. It was just mostly it's just obviously just my mom paging me. Yeah. I had no reason for it, but it was like one of those things, before cell phones, it was like, oh, you had, everybody has, you have to have a pager.
You have a pager. My sister still has one.
It became a tech, I don't know what you'd call it, but it was like technological status symbol, just to have it.
My sister, who is a doctor, still has one. So they still use
they still use them. Yeah, because it's just a very simple messaging system. It doesn't fail usually, and you keep it on your body, and it doesn't get mixed up with the other stuff.
But it was for drug dealers and doctors, right?
Yep.
Drug dealers and doctors back in hip hop stars. Yeah.
If you were just really cool. If you were just really cool guy,
just cool.
A lot of people needed to get in touch with you, so you had to be like, "Oh, who's kind of calling me? Oh, I gotta go check that out."
It was you said it perfectly. It was a status, like you just felt so cool with it, And same thing with cell phones. When we first all got cell phones, I remember it was like, I remember getting arrested with technology. I got a cell phone very early on in like 2001 early 2002, and I remember I got arrested that summer for DUI, and it was a fucking Nokia, and I remember being at the Baltimore County check-in at the jail, or whatever you want to call it, the holding cells, and the guy was like, oh, look at your cute cell phone, and I'm like, I was like, yeah, you can play Snake on it. Yeah. And then
when I moved to LA in 2004, my cell phone was a little flip, like a little silver flip phone that I got from Virgin, and it was a Virgin prepaid cell phone. And so I would have to go to the Virgin Mega Store and buy a card and like scratch it off and enter the code in, and that would give me more minutes on my little flip phone.
You had a burner.
You did. Oh yeah. Well, back then it was just a cell phone. It was just a poor guy's cell phone.
Let's dig into Scenario, because I think like what goes into Scenario, and I love that he the ending of that song kind of builds it up to it. But I don't think, and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if there's a song that launched a career more than Scenario did for Busta Rhymes. It's like, I was thinking about that, and the only other one that I could think about is a girl that basically ripped off Busta Rhymes, which was Nicki Minaj when she did Monster.
You're gonna say that
on Kanye or Ye, whatever you want to call him, or Heinrich Himmler, or whatever you want to call Kanye now. But you know, she basically does the rah like a Dungeon Dragon type thing. I mean, dude, talk about a moment of somebody being like, oh, you want me to do a verse on it, and I'm just gonna steal. Speaking of which, I just saw a few years ago, Nas and Wu-Tang went on tour, and Busta Rhymes came out in between. Like, they were kind of like splitting it. It would go like half and half. And so Nas would do a few songs, and Wu-Tang would come out, and then Nas would come back out, and then Wu-Tang would come back out. And Busta Rhymes came out with just a dude, and I mean, just stole the entire show. But I mean, Scenario for me is, I mean, it's just, it really is. It's probably, I'm gonna say it's the best song on this, but I would say it's the one that is probably talked about the most from this record. And I think a lot of it has to do with what Busta did. And they did a live performance on Arsenio Hall that helped with the popularity with everybody. You know, I think it says Busta was wearing a Dr. Seuss hat in it. And they said the song wasn't planned out. They just invited their friends to the studio, and everybody came up, and you got the leaders of the new school, you know, which is so funny because Busta is the only one that you talk. I couldn't name you the other fucking two guys. Now, dooby doo, wooby doo. Scenario's ready. I don't know any of those motherfuckers' names.
I mean, he stole the show on this song. I mean, there's no question that's a Busta Rhymes song.
I mean, I think Q-Tip has some, before you start playing that, Jeremiah, hold on. I think Q-Tip has some really, you know, great lines in that, you know, like turn up the bass, lay low on the treble. I mean, there's so many, oh god damn!
Yeah, I mean, there's so many great.
But Busta just steals it. You know, it's the levels of the boom inside your ear. You know, I did it. So don't violate. It's just they both just playing off one another.
Bo knows this. Bo knows that.
Bo don't know Jack. Yeah, I mean,
Bo can't rap, and I mean that was like when, you know, Bo Knows was
so good,
a commercial on TV.
Bust a nut inside your eye to show you where I come from. I mean, he loves, Fight Dog loves coming. You know, the Siemens furniture in electric relaxation. You know, I bust a nut on your couch. So now you call it Siemens furniture. He's just
right. You know, I forgot about all of this. Just amazing early internet. You know, they're doing pop-up windows.
So great. You see Redman
like
there.
Little pop-up windows that come up, and like,
and it's just a perfect way to end the song, man, and the record. I mean, it's really just I mean, like I say,
I remember, like I said, when the video came out for Scenario, I was sold on the song. That's what I loved about it. You know, and it just brought that energy, and it brought that, you know, it was like, again, it was like this. You know, it's a party song, right? You know, and it just like gets the party going, and you could put that on at any time, and it's going to be awesome. And it's like, that's, you know, this, at least the, you know, the stuff that I've worked on, and when I do, you know, I think when you did, you know, the comedy jam, and, you know, like you just want it to be like this awesome, fun experience that when people walk out, they're elated and they feel great, and, you know, and positive and happy and impressed. And that's what I feel like this song just checks all those boxes.
Yeah.
You know, and like you said, even though when I got it and first heard it, the song to me was just kind of like, whoa, all right, okay, this is at the end. Let me go back to that more chill stuff, because I'm a teenager trying to figure out high school. You know, this was the song that, you know, went on to just become like that, you know, empowering song that, you know, you put it on, you know, I'll put that song on when I work out. That's on any workout mix I have, has Scenario on it.
Yeah.
And
it amps you up.
Yeah, it just amps you up. It just amps you up. I get a job, You know, I get hired for something, I get cast in something. It's Scenario. All I Do Is Win. You know, there's like these songs that you just put on and they just get you amped up. And you know, it leaves you better off than you were before.
I mean, I you know, listening to this record, you always talk about, does the album hold up? I think there's probably, I'd say it's about 70% of the tracks on this record still feel like they came out today. And I think if they did come out today, it would just be just as popular. And I think we'd just be like, wow, this is so groundbreaking, because it would just be a resurgence of what they were doing back then. But Scenario is just one that it's like, it's without a doubt a timeless hip hop anthem. And if you put it on anywhere, I think everybody will go nuts for it.
Worldwide.
Great record, man. I'm so glad that you came on for this one. By the way, on the 2020 re-rank, this album jumped 110 spots to number 43, just ahead of Nas-Illmatic.
Let's keep going. Let's keep
right
going.
behind OK Computer. And Midnight Marauders actually joins the ranks at 201, just ahead of Bjork and Sade. So I asked you at the beginning to think about what would be on your hip hop group Mount Rushmore.
Okay.
Got to pick 5. Is it 5 or 4?
It's
Mount Rushmore.
I think it's 4 faces on Mount Rushmore, isn't
Fuck it, do 4.
Okay. Well, we'll put Tribe Called Quest on there, right? This is so we're gonna go with mine. Tribe Called Quest. Wu-Tang Clan. Now, are we going with just groups?
Yeah, it's got to be groups. Can't be rappers. It's got to be a group.
Not individual rappers.
I would say a duo is fine as well.
The Roots.
Oh, there you go.
Best rap groups. Okay, this is a tough one now. I've got 2 in my head. I got to make a choice.
Who are the 2 though?
The 2 in my head right now are Gangstar and Diggable Planets.
Oh, Gangstar, dude. Come on.
And
Come on.
Well, you're right. I got to go with Gangstar.
I agree with Josh. But the Diggable Planets came up right after on Spotify when I was done listening to this album.
Yeah,
so
because Diggable Planets basically
is
like an even pussier version of a Tribe. Like they're more like, you know, they're fine. They're fine.
Hey,
but
man.
we're not talking, listen,
I already told you why I like the album.
It's so funny. I've noticed the whole time my hair has been a certain way. I have like 90s Gumby hair.
You know what?
Like I'm like, everything is bad when you're living in this. Why does it look at my hair is like that? I need to shower. It's hot as fuck out here. Colt, this is so much fun, dude. Please come back. I'm so glad that you came on for this record, because obviously not only you're just a fan, but it's like just the questions were like perfect. So I ask everybody these questions. So first one is, what is your favorite song on this record, dude?
Check the Rhyme.
Ooh. Least favorite.
Probably the Date Rape song.
Classic example. Can you fuck to this record?
100%.
Have you?
Oh, fucking like a champ.
27-year-old British woman.
I'm sure. Sure of it. I'm sure of it.
This is not, I don't think I've ever put on a Tribe Called Quest to fuck, but there might have been I might have made out to it, but I don't know if I've ever fucked.
I've definitely never been like, let's fuck, I'm going to put on Tribe, but I'm just saying that in my life, I'm sure it was playing at some point when it was
playing. And then what would be your elevator pitch to get someone to listen to this record?
Wow. Okay. The 90s vibe is back. Everybody's into 90s shit. Everybody's kind of digging some of that vibe and the style in a lot of ways. If you want to know what was a real taste of the 90s, especially in hip hop, that is an example of one hip hop that transcends the time period. You got to listen to Low End Theory. Low End Theory is one of many that were already kind of in the style of doing this jazz fusion to hip hop, but the way that they did it and presented it created a whole new wave of groups. The Roots, a lot of groups I think don't exist if you don't have Tribe first.
Totally.
So.
Totally. Please promote away anything you want to promote. We'll do it at the beginning and the end anyway as well. But
man, I'm on nothing now.
Yeah, dude.
You can, I am. If you got kids, Big City Greens on Disney. I do a number of voices on there. It's a great show. If you get a chance, check out Superstore on Netflix or on Peacock, and The Recruit on Netflix. Those are all fun shows that I got to work on. And like I said, whenever I work, my whole goal is to try to have people really enjoy it and leave feeling better than they felt when they got there. So enjoy any of my work, whether it's the writing on Key and Peele or anything like that, or you can just follow me on Blue Sky or Threads. I'm around.
Do it. Colt, you're coming back. Don't worry, brother. This was so much fun.
I'd love to be
Thank you for
back
coming on,
anytime.
dude.